All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, August 12th. Good to have you guys here as we jump into today's complimentary live trading session with a much larger group. I'm excited to announce the new Trading Intelligence Dashboard 2.0. As I mentioned just previously, this has been not an easy task, actually, as I've learned throughout the past several weeks and even months now of building and enhancing the dashboard to the point where it can create a simplified, systematic system for you guys of identifying top trades based upon, as always, charts that you're looking at specifically, the products that you look at each and every day, and the time frame. So that has been the goal for creating this updated dashboard. And just to give you a brief overlook and kind of top-down approach of what that looks like. As we go over this page here that everyone should see, this is going to give you some strong analytics for what we're looking at with the updated dashboard. So just to bring up the dashboard here, as you can see, this is, let me actually bring up the first version of the dashboard, which is what everyone has access to now. Give me 1 second. So here's the current version one of the dashboard. And what this looks like is this page here. It gives you kind of your market overlook, your story, the strength of the markets. You have the ability to choose certain products and timeframes. And then below it, it has the sweet spots, which is the red boxes are areas you're looking to sell in. Green boxes are where you're looking to buy in. Pretty self-explanatory there, and it gives you a lot of great insight down here. That is all still the same, and everyone who has current access to the dashboard still has access to this. Now we've just gone ahead and enhanced this by kind of reassessing how we look at the sweet spots and choosing much stronger coding behind it. So as I come over to the dashboard 2.0, it's going to be a little bit different than the first one. So what you'll do is you'll still choose your products up here. You have access to pretty much all products that you could look for. We've included ETFs, we've included stocks, futures, Forex, pretty much everything you can imagine. Was not able to get crypto, but we were able to add micros, things like that. So all that good stuff. And then time frames, depending on the time frame that you look at specifically, you're able to add it here so that the charts you're looking at are customized to the time frames that you look at each and every day. So you add that up here in the top right corner. Let's see. Oh, something with the audio. Let me check. And then I see a question from Demetrios. Give me 1 second. I know my mic does that sometimes. Deb says sounds good. Give me 1 second. I see at least two people that said echoing. Audio's fine? Hmm. Good now? Okay. I didn't even do anything on my end. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. All right. If anything does kind of sound wonky or my screen needs to be bigger, of course, just let me know. Thank you guys so much. Let's see. Thanks, Ken. Let's see. Question was, does the dashboard need specific platform? Nope. So it's all through the website ktrades.com. So as long as you create an account, you don't need any additional platform or anything behind it. It uses TradingView and Yahoo data, but you don't need to subscribe to any of that. All of that is already built into the dashboard. So nothing else that you need to subscribe to. The dashboard kind of already does all that on the back end. So you just kind of log into your website through ktrades.com and you have access to all that. But yeah, nothing additional that you need to add. So you'll notice it looks a little bit different. Again, products and timeframes are in the top right. The boxes are now just going to be really sweet spot boxes that have been identified as strong. So now there's not going to be zones in the sweet spot box itself. It's just going to be a thick kind of line like this. And that's going to show you really the sweet spot that you're looking at based upon the underlying coding that has been tested and ran through many times. So here's the analytics based on the sweet spots that you're seeing on the dashboard right now. Exact live version 2 strategy, 42.4% win rate. So the goal was to get this as high as possible. And the way that we were able to do that was to really hone in on how we were identifying the sweet spots. So behind the scenes, it's looking for very specific pivot points. It's looking for very specific structures and details. And then based on all that, it's saying, hey, this is a strong setup. And then it appears on the screen for you to see. So I'll go over that momentarily. Um, so 42.4% win rate and a 1.16 profit factor. About 48% of the sweet spots will hold across the broader zone behavior research. Um, so all in all, nearly half of retested sweet spots hold their key level being from where the box is identifying, so between the two black lines. Let's see, so how it works is it scans the markets, filters them based upon the underlying criteria. It ranks them, so you'll notice that the scoring is also a little bit different. In the version 1, the scores were a bit lighter, like a high score was actually 58 or even 45 was a high score. Now we're giving a little bit more credence on the ranking. So the highest scores are going to be out of 100, and that's going to be not based upon, say, success, but based on the quality of the underlying details of what it's looking for. So I'm going to come out to this one in a second. I know it looks like it's come back into the zone, but give me one sec to show that. So 42% win rate, 1% profit factor, 48% of them have held. So to give you some more kind of details of what that means, here's a breakdown. So 42% win rate, what is that? It's the percentage of trades that hit the target before hitting the stop. So 42% wins, 57% losses. In this tested batch, those are the analytics. So the higher the win rate, of course, the more trades that were closed in a profit. And that's without doing any additional analysis or testing on it. And then these are based on using the stats, so entry at the sweet spot, placing the stop beyond that sweet spot box using a 0.25 ATR, pretty much just giving it a couple extra ticks beyond the stop line for that volatility. And then targeting on this is going to be 1.5 to 1. So showing the consistency of the sweet spot was a primary goal for you guys so that you could be comfortable with the sweet spot zones that are being chosen, right? And not just getting a 1 to 1, but a 1.5 to 1 so that you can actually see that they're holding and working. For profit factor, 1.16, what that typically means, or what that generally means, is a ratio that compares total profits to total losses. It shows how much is won for every $1 loss. And this is actually a big deal, but it shows that if gross profit is 1,160 and the gross loss would be 1,000, then what 1.16 means is that for every $1 lost, $1.16 was gained. So as long as profit factor is greater than 1, which it is here, it's a profitable system. All in all, the higher the better. Of course, it could vary a little bit depending on trades you're taking, market conditions. This is just kind of the sample set based upon what we've tested over many charts. Any questions on this so far? And then we'll go over the dashboard. I'll go over to my Thinkorswim and we'll set up some trades. But any questions so far on what we've discussed? All good there so far? All right, let's keep going. And then the other slide here, just one other one showing you the sweet spot hold rate. So in this tested batch, sweet spots held as support or resistance when price returned to the zone approximately 48% of the time. So overall, we're testing what the dashboard is coming up with. So let me come back over there. Identifying the specific sweet spot based on the underlying system, looking at pivot points, strength of the pivot points, and then it's identifying the zone for you guys. So here I'm looking at all futures. For my time frames, I put a bunch of them in here just to kind of illustrate different time frames, what they look like, high time frames, lower time frames. My products, I'm looking at all futures right now, Forex. Um, and then for the box, you can see it looks like it's come into the zone, right? You may just need to enlarge it. And this is something that we're working on, is just the kind of visual aspect of it. But the zone may actually be back a little bit further. So on this one, you can see here is the zone it's identifying, which is going to be British pound 30-minute time frame. And it's identifying this area down here. We can see where we're currently at on price. So it's saying in this current structure on a 30-minute time frame, it has identified this area as a strong sweet spot, and that being further away potentially, it's going to choose the strongest ones that get the setups that it's looking for to get this the win rate and the profit factor that it's looking for. So some of them may be a little bit further away, but let's set this one up. I'm going to come over to my live chart. Let's do 6B, and it's looking at a 30-minute time frame. 30-minute. And let's see. I want to make sure I'm finding the right one. Coming over to the dashboard, it's looking at, looks like 1.327 to 1. What is that? 1.33. So that's going to be down here. 1.33 to 1.327. That's the area that's identifying as the strong sweet spot, like that. And that's again just without doing any other analysis. So let me just spot check that. Yep, there's the zone. So here's current price. And again, it's not going to choose ones if it's not matching the criteria. So sometimes they may be a little bit further away. It's ultimately going to try to find the closest ones, but it's not going to force it. So just keep that in mind, that it's choosing it based on the underlying criteria. Hey Ken, yes, and I also am taking feedback, right? So this is the first launch of dashboard version 2. Absolutely, yes. So the prices, when I'm hovering over it, it sometimes appears. Let me come over to, it does show it here. So I will add that to the chart. I'm gonna write that down real quick. Um, it has entry, stop, target, and then it's using the initial 1.5 to 1 based on the PowerPoint, right? So if I come over to, which one was that? Yeah, this slide right here. So it's saying the 42% win rate, right, is based on 1.5 to 1. So the dashboard's going to automatically identify that for you with the pricing. So here you've got entry 1.33060, stop at 1.32719, and then looking at that initial 1.5 to 1, it gives you the target of 1.3357. So the prices are there, but I can definitely add them to, I think this chart too would make it easier to see, right? Having the price here at the entry, and then the stop down there beyond that lower black line. But just kind of first glance, these are going to be the prices, entry, stop, and target that it's looking at. So let's set this one up and come over back to my Thinkorswim. And let's see. Let me just scrunch this up and we'll set this one up by custom with stop. So on British pound, let me scrunch it a little bit more. And let's see. There we go. Okay, so buy limit 1.33, 1.33. I'm gonna do 0.6. Stop price 1.32, 1.3272. So I've got my entry, the stop. That looks good there. And then you could do the target as well, right? You would just add in the opposite order if you wanted. I'm just going to set this up with an entry, buy limit with a protective stop, confirm and send. And that's going to be the trade that we are looking at for the first one on the dashboard. So here's our trade British pound. And then of course, do your own analysis too, right? So this is just based on the the computer choosing the trades. But then, of course, you can increase your win rate, your profit factor by making it your own, choosing the trades that that make the most sense with trend, assets that look a lot stronger than maybe other ones, things of that sort. Yeah, hey Paul, the asset is in this one. This is British pound, and I'm looking at the futures contract. So let me come back over to the dashboard. Yeah, so for this one, British pound, 6B. I'm just under the section of all futures right now. And I think under my products, I also have Forex on there. Since my Thinkorswim uses futures, I'm just going to click the futures and refresh the rankings. So while it's doing that, any other questions on the British pound trade or maybe the coding, what it's looking for, the stats. Any questions on that? Yeah, and then for asset, you can update that based on what you're looking at exactly. So you can come over here, you can do all futures, you can filter by the S&P, you can create your own watch list as well, things of that sort. Yes, you bet. And that was one, man, I forgot that. Thank you, Paul, for that. Paul's comments, I see it's a private, but the comment is that the numbers are small. Can they be enlarged? Yes, that is one that I will do that one today. Yeah, to make these a little bit more visible. Absolutely. Let's see, the stop loss. Yep, so stop is going to be right here. 1.32719. You've got entry, stop, target. Um, but I will add those to the actual chart themselves. And again, right now, so why it kind of looks like this initially is because it's showing you where the start of the sweet spot is and where it was formed. So you may just need to scrunch the bars like how I'm doing here to see where that zone is from current price. And usually it's not back too far. It is going to update based on the most current setup that meets all of the criteria. Yeah, good question. And that'll all be added. So I'm making a lot of notes on my side here. Let's see. Sharon says, do you still check on Confluence before entering trade? No. And that's a question I want to ask you guys. So the question that Sharon's asking is, do you still check on Confluence before entering trade? That was one that I went back and forth on. I believe what Sharon is referring to is that in the dashboard version 1, you were able to kind of assess trends across multiple time frames. Like on this one, you can see that the time frames that I've added have also been added to version 1. And the ones that are highlighted are going to be the ones that have the sweet spots that are correlated. So I believe that's what you're referring to. Is that right, Sharon? Kind of seeing that multiple time frames are correlated and lit up here? Or are you referring to like the trend option here? Because there was one option, and this is where I want your guys' feedback. Ways to kind of see the strength of the sweet spots is what I can do is I can add in the time frames back like this, and you can see which time frames are correlated. So on this one here, I might choose, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one has 6 time frames that are aligned. This one only has 5. So I might choose the British pound New Zealand dollar over New Zealand dollar USD because more time frames are aligned. That's one thing I can definitely add back in if you guys would like to see it. And then another box that I'm working on right now is the trend and getting this on the page too. And just having kind of a visual as well of each of the charts that it's bringing up, what's the trend. So that way you can kind of quickly scan and see which ones are mostly aligned. Okay, yeah, and that's what I thought too. Yeah, the confluence. So what I thought was that from what I heard is maybe this was a little bit too much. but maybe doing like kind of a trend box like this would be helpful where I can quickly see, okay, which ones are aligned with trend, like this one, Euro USD. A lot of the trends are supporting a bullish trade. So then that would help support your reasoning for taking a long setup. Um, so yeah, if you said it was sometimes confusing, I won't add that. What do you think about having trend as an option as well? So how they're just to kind of explain how the rating is done right now, it's not based on like trend. It's based on really the structure of the setup. And you can see it's the quality score of how strong is this sweet spot zone, and just kind of at a from a general standpoint without trend, that's how strong that zone is. But maybe I could add something here that says with trend or counter trend. Maybe something as simple as that on each of the boxes. Any thoughts or feedback on that? Like a trend option? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll get that added. So yeah, this shows the quality of the zone. So I didn't want it to rank them based on trend, but maybe that can be an odds enhancer. Yeah, like something inside each box that says trend, correlates with trend, maybe high, middle, low time frames. I'm going to make a note of that as well, and I can get that added as we roll this out. Thanks, Sharon. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Got the, yeah, so numbers will be enlarged. And then let's see, Al says micros and minis have the same entries and targets and stop losses. Yes, so they do. And that's where depending on, right, the time frame you're looking at, you if you come up with, say, a 2 hour zone on the NASDAQ, it may show that as a really large high risk zone. You may need to come over to the micro contract to trade it. For situations where certain products are more expensive, I would just say, looking at the micro counterparts or maybe coming down to the lower time frames so that you can make your zones smaller. Yeah, they're going to be the exact same as far as entries, targets, and stops. It's just based upon if you're willing to take that risk. If yes, perfect, go ahead and do that. If not, you can always, bring your entry down. You can jump over to a micro contract. You can, take it with a confirmation entry, right? There's other ways to kind of splice into these trades. So let's keep going. Great questions, though. Let's see. This one we're looking at copper. So this is one looks like it's still holding, and we're kind of in the zone right now. Let's take a look. Micro copper, 1 hour time frame. We've got our British pound trade set up, MHG. Let me clear that off. And here's the zone. And I'm just going to exit out of that and get the numbers here. So 6.67 to 6.60. Let me zoom in. What contract month is it on? I think my numbers are off just a little bit. Let me come over to MHG. I need to add the contract month. Let's see, 6.67. So I'm just going to use it on my continuous contract. So since it's looking at the 1 hour, that is going to be, let's see, 1 hour time frame. Zooming in. And it looks like the sweet spot that it's choosing is got this pivot here from August 11th. So that's going to be this area here that it's choosing as that sweet spot zone, which you can see we've come back into it. We're holding it. Now we're coming back into it again. So this one, what type of strategy do you think we should use for this sweet spot zone? Should we take it just as a plain zone entry, or should we take it with confirmation? What What are your thoughts on this one? If it's identifying a strong zone and it has already come back into it, is that one we would take again in the zone, like a deeper entry, or look for confirmation? Perfect, right? Yes. So we can see it's already been tested a little bit. It had to move away. If it's saying this is still a strong zone, but it's maybe been tested, um, maybe this is one that we can take again. It's not going to necessarily remove it. Sometimes it'll remove it if it stops it out, right? So if price went past the stop line, it would take it off. But if this is still being identified as a strong zone, I think a confirmation would make sense here. Nice job, Ken, Kirk, Deb. Yes, so, and then you can, of course, do your own analysis too. You guys know me, I like to kind of do my top-down approach, high time frames, see where we're at. So I like that we're in an uptrend. We're making higher highs, higher lows. Looks like we pulled back and we've started pushing higher, making higher highs, higher lows. We are running into, looks like this two candle flip here. So if I'm going to look to go long, I just want to see some confirmation. So that all makes sense. Let's see, 1 hour time frame. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to a lower time frame. To see where the nearest controlling breakout pivot is on this move down, and we'll look to go long once we take that out, and then that will be our confirmation. So let's see, 15-minute. Let's take a look at that. And come over here. All right, so 15-minute time frame. I can see we're pulling back. Again, we've tested that strong area already, so I'm looking for confirmation. Based on this picture here, oh, and I don't think you guys have the ability to draw on the screen in these sessions, I would ask you guys where you would put the controlling breakout pivot that's currently holding price down. And for me, where we've got all of this support, I would put a box there. And I would say that there's likely a controlling breakout pivot or a zone probably right on the other side that took out all of this support. So my confirmation is going to be once we break whatever zone caused price to break all of these bottom side touches. So I want to see if there is a zone here. Let's come down to a 10-minute. All right, 10-minute time frame. This is kind of a doji candle. You can see it's got a longer body, but it's got the neutral wicks on both sides. I would say that's likely right about the area of where the zone is that broke all of this support. Let's come down to a 5-minute. So here's all the touches. We've got that move down. We've got this doji here. I'm really trying to find the zone in this area. Let me try 3-minute. There we go, 3-minute time frame. This may be one of those hidden zones that we can't really see because you could use this one. What I don't like is that it's below some of these touches to the left. So I'm really looking for a zone kind of right on the other side that could get taken out. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to say that there's a zone in this move down, and I'm just going to wait for price to break above that approximate area of where that zone would be. So I can see we've got this slight gap down here. I'm going to say once we fill that gap to the upside, that would be the confirmation. So I would look to go long on a breakout above 6.6895. How would I manage my risk on this trade for breakout trades? Because breakouts are more elevated risk. So how would I manage my risk? Yep, so entry would be a buy stop because current price is below. We're looking to go long above what current price is, so at a higher price once it trades above it. So we would do a buy stop for our entry. And what I like to do with these types of setups is if I come over to the website, katetrades.com, everyone has access to this. You can go to Trade Tools, and there's something here that's called Futures Calculator. Click that. And what I would do here is say, just so you don't have to really do the math on your own, just say, hey, I'm looking to trade micro copper. So I'm going to come over to copper and I'm going to look to go long. My entry is going to be 6.6895. And then I want to see where, if I'm looking to risk maybe $200 or $250 for the trade, I'm just going to start by kind of eyeballing where I would put my stop. Since it's the full size contract, the micro is going to be 1/10 of that value. So let's start with 6.68. So on a full size contract, break out at 6.6895, stop at 6.68 would be $237 of risk. What would that be on a micro contract? If the risk on the full size contract, again, just eyeballing where I might put my stop, 6.68, if that risk is $237 on the full size contract, what would that be on the micro contract? There we go. Yep, exactly. So if I look at the copper, um, where is it? Copper, the tick value is $12.50. If you come over to MHD, it's $1.25. So just like the equity indexes, it's going to be 1/10 of the value. So I'd only be risking $23.75. Nice job, Kirk, Ken, Shillian. Um, so yeah, that shows us that on these lower time frames, breakout trades aren't as risky, I would say. I mean, breakouts are risky, but at least we can manage our stop more closely. So again, it looks like a good amount of risk there, but I do want to account for just the volatility. I'm going to look to take, since I'm trading the micro contract, let's see, I'm going to bring my stop down. Let's do 6.65. So putting my risk down at 6.65, which would be about where price is currently, the risk would be $987. And I'm going to go with this because then that would make the micro contract to be $98.75. So about $100 risk. I'm good with that. So for this one, buy custom with stop. As Deb mentioned, this is going to be a buy stop order. And I'm going to take a breakout above 6.6895. And my stop price is going to be, what did I say, 6.65. So now I'm taking a breakout. That's our confirmation entry that I'm not looking to go long in this zone right now because it's already been tested. I'm going to look to take a breakout as confirmation and place my stop at 6.65, which is $100 of risk on the micro contract. All right, so in the meanwhile, we're not in the trade. We are just waiting for that setup to happen. Excellent job, everyone. Any questions on copper or any questions on the dashboard? What are your thoughts? Ooh, great question. Ken's question is, since micros typically have lower volume, does that affect decision? Ooh, I would say, yeah, so look at the, you may need to give it a little extra buffer for your stop due to the lower volume, depending on what product you're trading. So like the micro equity indexes are pretty high volume, micro oil, micro gold, micro copper is not too bad. It is a little bit lighter. So yeah, I would say if you are trading a lower volume contract, just giving it a little extra wiggle room on the stop is typically what helps in those situations, because sometimes it may wick through a zone on a micro and it doesn't really look like that on the full size contract. So yes, absolutely. If you're looking at the micros, I would say giving it a little extra wiggle room on that sweet spot can be advantageous there. But for some of the more high volume, full size contracts like the equity indexes, you don't really need to account for that as much. Yeah, great question. And right, it's up to you too, right? If the software is choosing a zone that has the right structure, but maybe it is a lower volume zone, maybe it was formed in the overnight session, maybe that's one that you pass on, right? You're still doing your own analysis with these trades. It's just choosing the ones that have the underlying setup. So yeah, if it is lower volume, maybe you want to pass on that trade and look at a different one. All right, let's keep going. So several different options here, and you'll see that the scoring is from highest to lowest. Let's see, so we did British pound, copper. Let's see, we'll look at corn here. So this is one that was recently identified on a 1 hour chart. Corn, this one is, it looks like it's just coming into the zone now. So I would want to just spot check what the size of that zone is. So I'm going to bring back up my calculator, which is, where'd that go? That's going to be, oh, I found it. There we go. This one, so we're looking at corn, DC. We're looking to go long, and we are in the zone now. I just want to see how large that zone is. I will get these numbers a lot larger. I know they are very challenging even for me to see on my screen. We're looking at 464. Stop price is going to be 457.5. That's actually not too bad. That's 325 for that zone that we're in now. You could take the zone as is, right? We're in the zone now. You could also, again, do confirmation entry, maybe breaking above this pivot high. That would be an odds enhancer. Um, Things like that. Yes, absolutely. So other odds enhancers. So what I would do is kind of my approach is, here's a zone that it's choosing, not just trading it blindly because it's choosing it, but bringing in other odds enhancers, right? That Ken is mentioning. I would come over to corn and start on a daily chart and just kind of look at the trend, right? What's the high time frame trend? Are we in an uptrend? Are we in a downtrend? Sideways trend? So based on the daily chart, does this look like an opportunity where we should be looking to go long? And I would start by, for me, I like to map out my controlling breakout pivots, look for where there's the strong pivot points, where they were broken. Um, so I can see we're hitting something over here. What this looks like to me is that here's where we had a strong break of price and that there was a controlling breakout pivot on the other side. And then that got broken here, and this pivot took out that zone to the left that caused this break of support. And now we're coming back down into that area. That would be an odds enhancer to go long. Let's see what else. What I also like about this picture is see how these wicks are just kind of barely wicking lower and quickly reversing. What is that called when we just wick below a prior wick and then quickly reverse back the other way? These kind of shallow breaks, shallow break, reverse. Yeah, that's our liquidity sweep. That's where the banks and institutions, they know where we're putting our stops. And a lot of traders, if they were looking at this picture, let's see, maybe even here, they would know traders would be seeing this as a downtrend, and they would probably be taking a short trade below that low. And then what happens is all the short traders get in the trade, and now they start getting stopped out, and it causes these strong reversals. So that would be our liquidity sweep there. Nice job, Deb. So that would be an odds enhancer. Um, Mapping out the controlling breakout pivots is an odds enhancer that here we're coming into a very strong zone. Which is holding, made higher highs. We're pulling back again. Ooh, Fibonacci. What's a common Fibonacci retracement that we look for that tends to hold? And I know there's many. What's in our live trading classes? What's a common Fibonacci we look at to see that if it's holding, it tends to cause price to continue moving in that direction? And which one does this look like? What retracement does this look like that is holding right now? Yeah, that looks like a 75% retracement. So I'm going from where my control and breakout pivot is to the high, just really looking at, okay, this pullback, I can see that it's a higher low from this low. And if it's about a 75% retracement, that is an odds enhancer that that area is likely to hold. So see how price is coming down to the 75 and it's rejecting? So that would be another odds enhancer to go long. Any other odds enhancers that you guys can think of? The ones that I'm seeing, control and breakout pivots. Um, we have a higher high over here. So even big picture, this full move down and up, this up move made a higher high. So the buyers, I would say, would be overall stronger. The Fibonacci retracement, 75% is an odds enhancer. The sweep, good one. The gaps, yes. Do we have any gaps here that help with the long trades? Actually, yeah. The fact that, let's see, over the past couple daily candles, from this candle to this one, we actually gapped down, right, from the close to the open. So that was a gap down, technically telling us that the sellers were in control. Here we even gapped down again. So I'm just going from the close to the open, close to open, close to open, gap down, and now we've filled those gaps to the upside. So if we fill gaps and price was gapping down previously, does that tell us that the buyers or the sellers are in control at this point? Perfect. Makes sense. If we're gapping down, sellers theoretically should have been in control. And now price is pushing up through those gaps. So that switches to the buyers being in control. Great job, Paul. Yep. All right. So all that good stuff are, I would say, the main odds enhancers that I look for: the retracement, control and breakout pivots, gaps, sweeps, and all of that is right in addition to what the dashboard is saying. So um, let's set this trade up. Let me come back down to a 1 hour. So we're looking to go long. We are getting that push up. Let me see that our dashboard trade was 464 to 457. I think we're leaving right now. Let's see if we can look to splice in. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to look to go long on in this zone here. Since we're already kind of on the move right now, I'm going to go long in this zone here, this wick over wick reversal to try to splice in. So let me set this one up, and I can see that this is breaking that zone to the left. So buy custom with stop, 464.75, stop price at 462.25. The risk on that zone, 464.75, stop price 462. And I'm going to do 462 just to give it that extra tick of wiggle room. $137 for that zone. Confirm and send. And we'll send that out there. So you can see how I'm customizing it, right? I'm not just blindly trading. I'm using the sweet spots that it's finding, that it's identifying as strong, and I'm bringing in other odds enhancers as well. Even on the 1 hour time frame, you can see from this low to this low, we have a higher low. We're breaking some highs over here, so all of that is going to help. Excellent. Any questions on corn? Let's see. Hey, Deb. Let's see. Will dashboard revision 2.0 alter other apps, i.e., active trader, alerts, etc.? Good question. Not at this point. So what I'm going to be doing is launching 2.0 and kind of working through some of the kinks, getting feedback from each and every one of you guys. Since as you know, sometimes there are some tech issues on the back end. Really just kind of having it as a one-off for now. Run through the dashboard, have you guys test it. Let me know what you think. If you want anything added, things you don't like, go through a couple renditions before altering the other apps. The goal would be to implement it in the active day trader, the trade alerts, things like that. The goal is just to get it pretty solid before making all of those other changes. Yeah, so the other apps are going to stay as they are right now. You'll just have this new dashboard 2.0 to start testing out and seeing what you like. Yeah, great question. Hey Daryl, Train View is corn 443. It could be the contract month, and let me make sure I have that note again here. So I think that one was, let me see, let me come over to, here's the dashboard. Yeah, I need to add the contract month here because it could be pulling a different contract month on the other dashboard. Um, it had the option where you were able to see the contract month and change it. So if it is, yeah, off by a little bit, that's going to be a contract month issue. So I'm just going to make another note of that. Yeah, so let's see. You said it's at 443. Right now we're at actually right now 466. Trading view, let me see. Trading view. Yeah, you would think all of them would be the same. Sometimes they do kind of switch a little bit. Let's see, corn. Yep, I'm seeing what you're seeing, Daryl. Good call. Yeah, 442 on my Thinkorswim. It's at 464. Let me see what the dashboard is bringing up. 463. Yeah, so it's what I had to do is kind of mimic or try to mimic my Thinkorswim charts. On TradingView, let's see, that's a 15 minute. Let me go to a 1 hour. So what I would do if there are price discrepancies, I'm going to add the contract months to the dashboard because there are a lot of times just kind of the prices may be off a little bit. The structure and the pattern should be relatively the same. So you can see I'm going long in this zone here, which is the same as this wick over wick reversal, double-sided breakout zone here. So the zones are going to be the same. The price is just maybe off a little bit, but I'll have that added as an odds enhancer to, not really an odds enhancer, just a feature to be able to change the contract month. Yes, thank you, Sharon, for pointing that out. The custom different watch lists and lists with, yes, if it doesn't in my, let me check. Yeah, so version one, good call. I'm going to make a note of that too. Um, Yeah, so I just made a note of that. Yeah, so version one allows you to, where you can create a watch list. You can name it. You could do like my stocks or my futures. You can input any ticker you want. It's going to kind of give you a drop down. You can type in, pretty much anything you want, add all your symbols, add the time frames you look at and save it. So yes, I don't think it's on this one. It wasn't rolled over, but I'm going to add that one today. Thank you, Sharon, for pointing that out. Appreciate it. And I just made another note of that. Yes, the dashboard you can see is correlated with TradingView, um, or the charting is by TradingView. Yep. So it's probably just a contract month issue. You can see how on my dashboard it says MHG. As I hover over this, it says charting by TradingView. Um, it's likely just a different contract month that's being pulled on the TradingView chart that I have there. So once I add in the contract month, that should make that correlated. Thank you for pointing that out, Daryl. Appreciate it. Yeah, you, oh, okay, nice. Thanks, Sharon. Yep, definitely get that added. Let's do maybe one or two more while we've got the time. Let's see what else. Let's do a short trade. I see, and you may have duplicates too. So notice how like New Zealand dollar, I've got a 30-minute and a 1 hour. So there may be duplicates depending on the time frames. And that's going to be up to you, right? It may make the zone a little bit smaller, a little bit larger on the 1 hour. Let's see, our entry 58685, stop price 59145. So it may kind of tweak the numbers a little bit depending on if it is finding that sweet spot on a 30-minute versus a 1 hour, which is okay. Just choose the time frame that works best for you. Maybe I want to take on a smaller time frame sweet spot, so I'm going to come to the 30-minute and look at that one. So let's see. All right, this one's an interesting one. We've got New Zealand dollar 30-minute. It's activated the sweet spot based on the criteria, and now we're back inside it. So this would be one where let's take a look. Let's look at trend. Let's look at our high time frames and see, is this a sweet spot we would want to go short? One thing that kind of stands out just at first glance is that this is a counter trend trade. So maybe this is one, right, I want to just pass on. I can see that we're in an uptrend. Going short in the context of an uptrend, it may be a strong zone or a sweet spot, but I'm going to be stacking the odds against me by going short against the trend. So that one I would even just quickly kind of bypass. What I'll do here is add a couple different kind of visuals for trend, like low time frame, intermediate, high time frame. That way you can see at first glance, hey, is this a trending trade or a counter trend trade? Let's see the 4 hour. Yeah, let me take a look. Yeah, I know. Usually the picture should look, and I've worked with other students on this too. The kind of structure should look the same. Sometimes it may look like breakouts have happened when they haven't, depending on rollover. That's also a factor too that can make the charts look a little bit different. And that's where, you got to just bring in your own analysis too and really say, here's the chart, here's what it's bringing up. Let me check the contract month, make sure that aligns. And if it's off by a little bit, just making sure that you've got the structure right and you're taking the trade in the area that the dashboard is pointing out. But yeah, here's the 4 hour. And again, I'll add those contract months. That will help it with rollover. All right, let's keep going. So I mentioned I'm going to bypass the short for right now. I'll add trend on there. Yeah, thanks, Daryl, for that. Let's do silver. Let's see, where's silver at? This one seems a little further away. Where are we on silver? We got really close to our sweet spot zone. That would be a good one. A little bit further away. It's a 5-minute sweet spot. Let me keep going. Let's see what else we've got here. Russell, long trade. Here's one that price has already kind of come back to, and we've got a move away from there. So again, you can see the impact of the sweet spots that it's choosing. So that might be one we could look for confirmation. Let's see. How about this one? This one's Australian dollar. This one looks pretty good. Australian dollar, we're not too far away. Our sweet spots can be down here at 0.69800 to 0.69165. That may be a little bit larger of a zone, but let's see where that's putting us. That's going to be on a 1 hour time frame. Let's come over to Australian dollar, 6A. Definitely uptrending right now. Let's see, 1 hour. And the sweet spot that it's looking at is going to be, again, 0.69165 to 800. So it's really looking at this whole area down here, which price has come back into it and gotten a decent move away. Let me take a look at the daily chart again. So I want to see where that sweet spot is and we can refine it. Nice. So that looks really good. It's a wick over wick reversal, very strong breakout. Pretty sure we took this trade here. If you were in the live trading room, we took this entry with confirmation. So now you can see the dashboard is lining up with even our live trading room trades. But that was a trade that worked out. I would look for price to come a little bit deeper into that sweet spot zone. So price breaking that low, coming down. And then I'm going to come down to a 4 hour. Look at the zones within that wick over wick reversal. And here's where the breakout happened. Took out all of that resistance on the move up. I actually like this candle here. I think I went over this with a couple students, but this doji here, even though it looks a little bit more elongated, I like that there is the kind of that wick there. That shows that this was a battle candle before the break. It's below these touches. So that would be kind of that area that I would look at for my zone is for price to sweep this low and come into that doji candle. And then that would be the zone that I would take. So putting a green box around that, buy custom with stop, entry, point, let's see, 0.69775, stop price 0.69540. And I'll send that out there. All right, as we wrap up today's session, any other questions on Dashboard 2.0? If you currently are subscribed to the dashboard, you automatically get Dashboard 2.0. When you're signed up, you get all the enhancements, you get access to the old dashboard, and you will get access to the new dashboard as well. I would say, test it out, take a look at the sweet spots. Let me know if you have any feedback. A couple things that I'm going to be adding here is the trend on each of these. I'm going to increase the font size on really this dashboard and the other dashboard just to make it larger. Having the prices be a little bit more obvious and contract months are all going to be added to these charts here. You've got your entry, stop, and then target at the 1.5 to 1. And again, all of this is based on many, not even just weeks of testing, but months of testing. So if you are someone who wants to really enhance your starting point of being a trader and kind of having an idea of, hey, here's the charts I should be looking at first and foremost, and take out a lot of that analysis, that's where this is going to help you tremendously. Again, through all that back testing, 42% win rate on these sweet spots that it's identifying, positive profit factor, and about 48% of them are holding. And that is without any other analysis, right? You're going to bring in your own analysis, trend, things like that to make it your own. I'll send out this PowerPoint to everyone so you have it. You can see the kind of the stats behind it, what it's looking for, things like that. And again, everyone will have access to that if you're already signed up for the dashboard now. If you're not signed up for the dashboard, I will send a follow-up email to everyone on how to sign up. And then you will get access to, I'll give you both access to version 1 and version 2 of the dashboards if you sign up through the email. So version 1 is going to be this kind of format where it shows the sweet spots and the zones, and it gives you a lot of information here, which may be useful for some of you guys. So you have that option. It breaks down trend. You've got an economic calendar here. It shows you the trades of the day, which ones have been successful. You can kind of skim through them and see which ones have worked. That one's not really that good. Let's see this one. There we go. Bullish trade there. That one was Aussie USD. So you'll have access to, when you sign up version 1, you can create all your watch lists over here, different time frames and products. That's all customizable. And you'll also get access to the 2.02, which is the enhanced charting. Any questions on what we've covered today? Thank you, Deb, for being here. All right. If you do have questions, feel free to email me. I will be in touch with you guys here shortly with a follow-up email. Any questions, just let me know. And other than that, have a great rest of your day, everyone. I will be talking to you guys soon. Bye-bye.